Hey everyone, and welcome to Backseat Sports. I'm Josh and that is Caleb. And guys, girls, ladies, and gentlemen, it is game week for Nebraska football. We are back at it again. Fans in the stands, and we're on week 0, the first game of the college football season. And I mean, I am beyond hyped. We're feeling great, and we have a lot to talk about today. Obviously, predictions, talking the depth chart, the expectations for the season, this game, and a lot more. And man, I'm just pumped. Caleb, how you doing?
Oh, I'm so great. The desert of the summer is over with sports.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, the Olympics kind of gave us something to watch a little bit, but man, it's been a long time since football.
Dude.
And preseason football just doesn't quite do it for you either with the NFL.
I know.
Week 0, it's really exciting, or else we'd just be waiting yet another week, starving for football.
Right?
But,
imagine how embarrassing having to wait a whole other week. Like, it's embarrassing. But yeah, obviously, we're going to be getting to all of it today. So, I mean, off the rip, I think we can just hop right into some of the Illinois stuff, and then we'll talk about the Nebraska and the expectations for that team after we kind of get a good understanding for this Illinois team and what they're bringing to the table in this game. So, I mean, last year, of course, was despair, depression. It was terrible. We lost 41-24 last year. I mean, it was in Lincoln. It was just absolutely awful. We played a terrible game. You know, there was a lot of different factors that came into that one, of course. It was a weird game where Adrian wasn't starting, obviously. Luke McCaffrey was playing. We had a lot of turnovers in that game. It was ugly, and we ended up losing, you know, by 17 points. So, I mean, first of all, before we even talk about this Illinois team this year, what was your experience with that game last year, and what can we take away from that?
Man, it was awful. I mean, you know.
Well, that's an understatement. I mean, it was terrible.
You know, I think that was the worst. That's one of the worst games that I watched in Memorial Stadium. It's either that or the Minnesota game last year, honestly.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I'd seen worse live. It was incredibly disappointing, especially I think there was so much excitement last year. You think to us beating Penn State, a new starting QB, you think that the best is coming, you know.
Yeah.
Finally the wheels are starting to roll the right way. You had some easy games, and, you know, and then Iowa, you know, we kind of gotten past some of the tougher stuff. So pretty excited. It was terrible. And I think it started off weird because there was it starts
first play of the game.
First play of the game is the turnover, which is the reverse pass.
The phantom backwards pass, which was so not a backwards pass.
No, not at all.
We had a lot of mistakes in that game, a handful of turnovers. We lost by 17. It was ugly. They were running the ball all over us. We fumbled on 4th and 1.
How many chunk plays did Illinois have us?
Yeah.
Imader Bebe was catching stuff. Chase Brown was running all over us. They were all like everybody was running over.
Mike
all
Epstein,
over us.
the other running back, had over 100 yards as well.
Brandon Peters looked like Tom Brady. Couldn't miss a throw.
He did. And so that was just why. I mean, there was a lot of reasons for why you could say we lost that game last year, but at the end of the day, we shot ourselves in the foot. We played just not great fundamental defense. We're giving them the outside all game.
Terrible
and just losing
defense.
the battle in the trenches on both sides of the ball. So that was just a big problem, and the game was really ugly. Overall, heading into this game, so we'll talk more about that game and maybe some of the themes heading this year as well. But heading into this game, it opened up at 9.5 point line. We're favored, but it's down to 6.5 or 7, depending on what site you're looking at. And it's a 55 point over under. So we are favored, even though we're on the road. You know, that's usually a 3-point swing. So at home, we'd be like 9.5 point favorites or 10-point favorites if we were at home. So overall, you know, we're pretty heavy favorites, which is pretty surprising, honestly. And it shows the confidence in, I think, the media and the bettors as a whole, maybe in Nebraska, and the lack of confidence in a new coach and new regime for Illinois. Obviously, Illinois was 2-6 last year. Lovie Smith was fired. They bring in a new head coach, of course, Brett Bielema. I mean, the former coach of Wisconsin, the former coach of Arkansas, and he was in the NFL the last few years. He was the Patriots D-line coach, the Giants outside linebackers coach, then came to Illinois. So, you know, the last time Nebraska played Bielema was not a good time. It was in the conference championship in 2012. But overall thoughts on this new regime for Illinois, what they're bringing to the table. Their offensive coordinator is Tony Peterson, coming from Appalachian State. Thoughts on this team and what the coaching staff might be bringing to the table this year?
Yeah, I mean, they have a really solid team that has 40 seniors Bielema was talking about it in his last press conference. They just have a lot of seniors. They have a good offensive line returning. I mean, a new coaching staff. So that does present a lot of challenges. Toyota was talking about how he was watching a lot of Appalachian State film to kind of look at their offense a little bit. So, that's always the tough part. It's like the good part about playing any team early in the season is maybe they're a little bit sloppy, right. But then also with playing a new coach, they're just implementing their new offense and defense. And it'll be really interesting to kind of see what they're going to run. I'm assuming run heavy, although Peters, has been a pretty good quarterback, as we saw last year, especially. He's ranked 70 like on PFF, so like it's not terrible. And
that's really solid. And he seemed to be pretty accurate. Like, obviously last year he torched us, and I think this year there's a world where he could make some pretty big steps forward and be a really solid quarterback for Illinois. So there's also where this offense is pretty decent. The biggest question mark with the team is the defense, obviously, which we'll talk about. But like you said, 4 out of 5 O-line returning. 2 of their captains are O-linemen, and some really good players. Last year, they had a player drafted in the 3rd round from the O-line. And again, like I said, they ran the ball all over us last year, and 4 of those 5 guys are returning, plus both running backs and their starting quarterback. So there's a lot of potential playmakers here on offense to run the ball. So the question mark would be the wide receiver core and that receiving group, because Imatorbhebhe is gone. Thank goodness. He went to Jacksonville. He got signed there. Although he was on the injured reserve, I'm interested to see if Imatorbhebhe can make a play in the NFL. But they brought in a guy named Brian Hightower from Miami, a wide receiver transfer, and who's looking to maybe fill that Imatorbhebhe role. And then there's a handful of other transfers in the room. And the one interesting guy is Isaiah Williams, the 5-star quarterback, actually, and now transferred to wide receiver, who is insanely athletic. And we saw him a little bit even last year make some flashy plays against us. And he had some crazy games in his career so far.
Yeah, and he was fun to watch at quarterback. Obviously, his running ability was the thing really touted by him. I think he was an athlete too, which was his 5-star. So it makes sense that he switches now that Peters kind of has secured the spot.
Yep.
It'll be really interesting to see. Watch out for him on jet sweeps and stuff like that. He's really, really fast. And it'll be really interesting to see how that they highlight him in their offense this year. That Chase Brown is a really good running back too. Like we said, the running is really good. He's 5.2 yards per carry last year, 3rd team all Big Ten, and I think he can even make another step. Just like every Brett Bielema team, they're going to be good at running, and with some decent quarterback play. And like Josh said, the wide receivers are suspect, but they do have with upside.
Yeah. I wanted to go check real quick because Isaiah Williams had some insane games last year. He had 192 yards rushing against Rutgers in the week before we played them last year. And then in their last game of the year, he had a 64-yard touchdown against Penn State and ended up with like 102 yards on the game. And so some really big time playmaking ability from a guy like him. And you'd expect that to even be more impressive, heading into his 3rd season now in college football. So that he's definitely a big time playmaker that I'm looking for. And then the question mark would come down. We'll talk about this in X Factor a little bit more, but that running game is going to be scary. So defensively, obviously last year, they weren't good. Breaker, spoiler, they were a really bad defense last year. They were getting torched by basically everyone except for us. And that's what gets a little bit worrying when we're talking about this team in Nebraska heading into this year. And just looking at the struggles that we had last season. Thoughts on this defense and what the opportunities could be, their strengths as a team? Where are you at with this?
Yeah, they weren't that good. I just remember we just shot ourselves in the foot so much. We put ourselves in 3rd and long situations, and obviously the turnovers, but also we just... penalties were killer in this last game, and I am scared that it being a first game, just how sloppy it was, because we're our own worst enemy most of the times on defense. So and any help that you can give to the worst team in the worst defensive team in the Big Ten, that's not great.
We gave them some nice field positioning too in that game last year, which was a big problem for us. Last year we only put up 23 points, which was the 2nd least of any team against them last year. Only Rutgers put up least. They put up 20 against Illinois last year. Wisconsin put up 45. Purdue put up 31. Minnesota put up 41. Iowa put up 35. Northwestern put up 28. And Penn State put up 56. So, that's what's interesting to see. Maybe we can make something happen this year. But they did have Jake Hansen return. and they have actually a handful of guys coming back. Tony Adams was a guy that Bielema highlighted a lot in his press conference on Monday, where he said he was really, really hyped about him. He's one of the captains, and he's transferring, or he's changing from safety to corner, kind of like what happened with Cam Taylor-Britt, 2 years ago, and his transition from safety to corner. And he's really excited about Tony Adams. And overall, with Jake Hansen back as kind of that leader of the defense, leading tackler last year, they have so many seniors on this team. This is why Caleb and I said we would be very willing to bet the over on this team, because it was like, what, 3.5 wins for them going into the year? Because like they have so many returning players, and the upside for this team, especially as they get used to the coaching staff and the scheming, becomes really interesting. And so we're lucky we're playing them in week 1, where there might be a lot of these mistakes and schematical errors with implementing these types of the systems for the coaching staff.
Just getting the play calls down to the team, even with hand signals and stuff. First week, that's nice.
We'll see, man. That's what gets me nervous heading into this game. So I don't know. Any other thoughts on this defense? I think some of the guys that we really want to highlight would be some of their captains, like Owen Carey Jr. and Isaiah Gay, Owen Carney. I mean, Tariq Barnes, all of those guys are all really, really interesting players. And Tariq Barnes is a linebacker who, graded out really well. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm already a little bit nervous. We still got to talk about Nebraska. So I don't know. Let's transition to Nebraska. Let's talk those things first. So let's start with the depth chart situation, because Frost didn't release an official depth chart. And we wanted to talk through the depth chart and some of the starters and the situations for some of the players that we expect to be seeing a lot of time in this game specifically. So lead the way. Where are you at with this team? Let's start on the defensive side.
Okay. Yeah. I definitely think the defense is maybe a little bit more spicy. Do you just want to, with going through the depth chart.
Let's start D-line.
Okay, perfect. So we have Stilley probably will start, although they did give out a black shirt to also DeAndre Thomas as well. So
that's interesting.
So, they kind of play the same position. So I would assume that they're going to split time.
Depending on the sets. We could also see a situation where, DeAndre Thomas plays some D tackle or something like that in some 4-man sets on pass rush situations if we're playing some 4-3. Because, again, we did hear that we're going to be playing some multiple D this year. So keep that in mind also when we're talking about some of these players too.
Yeah, and then Damian, who also got the captain spot, is also black shirt. So we just kind of assume whoever got the black shirt while we don't have the depth chart. It's pretty clear to say, it's pretty confident that, they're going to be the starters. But Damian's not really a surprise either. And then Ty Robinson also got a black shirt, which again, makes total sense.
So those are going to be the starters up front.
Yeah, and then we go into the linebackers.
Very interesting.
Caleb Tanner and Garrett Nelson also both got black shirts.
We had 5 linebackers get black shirts, so that would make sense.
And Garrett being the extra one, and again, Caleb Tanner and both of them, they kind of play the same position. So I'm guessing just kind of like with Ben Stilley and DeAndre Thomas, I think there'll be a battle early to see who gets more of that playing time. But obviously, they thought that both of them did a good enough job that they should both get those black shirts. So
that's good to see for
battle.
Caleb Tanner, by the way. That's nice to see that the coaches think he's making some progression. He's a guy that showed a lot of potential, and he slimmed down a little bit too, I think, to hopefully become a better pass rusher, which is where he really struggled. He lacks speed. That was what we talked about a lot last year, is he lacked speed. And then we're hearing that he slimmed down a little bit. So that's good news, for sure. I don't know. What's your money on? Caleb Tanner or Garrett Nelson to see more time this year, more as a starter?
That's a really interesting question. I'm guessing it's probably just going to depend on the set. I'm guessing Caleb Tanner, he did see... Although at the end of the season, kind of Garrett Nelson saw more.
On Garrett Nelson,
yeah. I don't know. I think it's going to be a close battle. I think Garrett, again, he's a little bit more solid of a tackler.
And he's faster. That's my thing. In running downs, maybe early in the downs, you'll see Caleb Tanner more often. But then on third, you're going to see Garrett Nelson. So that's kind of where I'm like a little hesitant to see. But I agree. I would lean Garrett Nelson, but it could go either way.
Yeah, and then Luke Reimer got the black shirt. Again, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Although, Snodgrass is awesome.
Candidates.
Yeah, is great. I don't see him winning out that job. And then the more interesting one was Nick Heinrich and Chris Kolarevec, that kind of battle on the inside. And Nick Heinrich ended up getting the black shirt, while Kolarevec's the transfer, and he did not get so that means that Nick Heinrich probably is going to start over him.
I think we both thought that Hendricks was going to find the field first anyway, just because the guy who was getting the playing time last year too already. So that makes sense for him. And yeah, overall, I think Clearvex got to watch though as the season progresses. I think he's a guy who could easily earn his black shirt as the year moves along, and a guy to keep your eye on for playing time, at inside linebacker, replacing that whole squad. So it'll be fun, man. So outside linebacker as well. I mean, no shocker here, JoJo Domann. He's on the other side there, opposite of Caleb Tanner and Garrett Nelson. He's a beast. He's a unit. He's incredible. And not only that, he's incredible in pass coverage as well. So that's what you love to see there.
Which we need desperately.
Yeah. And he's a guy, you're looking for Sundays for him next year, hopefully. So no shocker there. Interestingly, in the secondary, only 3 players received black shirts. So there's still a battle at corner on the opposite side from Cam Taylor-Britt for who's going to get that starting job. So obviously Cam Taylor-Britt, no surprise there. Wow. He's the most talented player on our defense, which I've seen some sites ranking JoJo. I've been ranking some sites ranking JoJo over him, which that is shocking to me. In my head, Cam Taylor-Britt is as talented as it gets for us, and he's a beast. He would be my most talented player probably on the team.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Then probably JoJo second, but
yeah,
I mean, they're obviously they're 2 very great players, and we're happy they're back. But sure. I definitely have Cam Taylor-Britt over, and I think the team kind of chose that too, with Cam being the captain, over like a guy like JoJo.
Yeah, that was good to see Cam Taylor being a captain too. I mean, that was exciting. So, other 2, of course, the safeties. I mean, Deontay Williams, Markel Dismuke. There's no doubt there. They're starting as well. So they lay the wood down.
The hard hitting safeties.
Yes, sir, baby. Let's see how many ejections we get this year.
Please none. Please none.
Over under 5. I mean, we're gonna be in a good spot, unlike last year.
They're headhunting though, for sure. I don't think you can change it. Or the way they hit, but
no, man. I mean, Ohio State still remembers that one. Maybe they don't remember that one.
Chris Olave does not remember.
He does not remember that one. So then at the other cornerback spot would be, the debate is Quentin Nelson. Quentin Nelson. I cannot talk. Quentin Newsome. I looked at Garrett Nelson right when I said that. Quentin Newsome, Tyreek Johnson, and of course Braxton Clark as the 3 guys who've been battling it out all year for that second spot, the second starting spot for corner. Where's your money at this point for the starting spot?
Yeah, I think Quentin Newsome would be my guess. I mean, I think Tyreek Johnson, again, it's really exciting that he came to Nebraska, and I think they're letting it battle out just because he is really talented, and he did see some time for Ohio State last year.
We've seen Braxton Clark play well in the field, though, before his injury last year.
True. I mean, I think they're all pretty talented, and it's exciting to see this amount of depth at cornerback. And obviously, depending on what the offense is sending out, we'll definitely see a lot of these guys on the field.
Definitely some nickelback as well. Yeah, so I think those are all very possible. I agree with you. Quentin Newsome makes the most sense by far, just because he's also had the most time with the team this year. So that would make a lot of sense, just like with the spring practice and Braxton coming off injury, Tyreek Johnson coming in as a transfer. So I think it makes sense that Quentin ends up getting the nod there. I mean, as for the offensive side of the ball, then obviously, this is pretty well figured out at this point, I think, with where we're at. I mean, wide receiver core is at least a little interesting with the Z receiver. We're not exactly sure which player is going to see the field there yet, but Omar Manning and Samori Toure at least have their spots locked in. Outside for Omar, slot for Toure. Then the question is the other opposite of Omar, kind of like that Z spot would be, are we going to see Xavier Betts? Are we going to see Oliver Martin, Levi Falk? Who's going to be that next guy there on the outside? Could it be Wyatt Lure? I mean, maybe, but which guy do you feel like you would lean towards there?
I mean, Xavier Betts, I mean, he's really exciting.
Yeah, I hope it's Xavier.
He's the highest recruit again. He's from Nebraska. I think it'd be Xavier Betts' to lose. And I'm sure he put in a good camp. As long as he's healthy, I think he's probably the starter, in my opinion. Although we did hear good things about Oliver Martin. So I think
the coaches like him a lot.
He'll see some time, but I mean, I think talent's going to win out, and I think Xavier's more talented.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same camp as well. So what do we got for the O-line?
Yeah, so this is fun. So left tackle, I think, Turner Cochran, although Brent Banks, we've heard really good things about all camp, so I'm sure he'll see the field. Left guard, Ethan Piper. Again, that's pretty known, I think. Cam Jervins, obviously at center. That's not really anything that exciting.
No. Sickerman, I mean, he's going to see the start for the first time, I think, is where we're at with that. I mean, it's him and Brock Bando as the starters there. So right guard would be the only spot where there could be some question marks, but it sounds like Sickerman's getting the start there. And then, of course, Bryce Benhart, the biggest X factor on the O-line, is at right tackle. He has insane upside as a player. We were really scared about him after last season, how he performed in his time on the field. So hopefully he can figure that thing out heading into this year, but he's going to get the start for
Agreed.
sure. So tight ends, no surprise there. Austin Allen's going to be the starter. If we're running 12 personnel, then obviously Travis Vokolek's going to be there on the field as well. So those are the two guys looking at tight end. Quarterback, Adrian Martinez. And running back, at least, is interesting because they haven't named it yet. The coaches have been very unwilling to say that there is a guy, but we just heard in these press conferences on Monday that they have from Lubbock that they have a guy they believe is their RB1 and a workhorse back, a guy that could see upwards of 20 carries.
Yeah, 20 to 25 carries alone. So
and this gets us hot and bothered, baby, because
yeah, it does.
Ooh, we've been hyping up Gabe Ervin all off season. We're hyped about this guy. We love his press conferences, the energy he brings, and not to mention, we love his talent on the field. We really think Gabe Ervin could be the guy for Nebraska. And if you haven't watched our breakout show, you should go watch our breakout episode. We talked about some of the guys we think are going to make huge steps this year. And of course, Ervin was that guy. And so we're both projecting him as the starter, with Stepp at 2, Sevion at 3. It's kind of, I think, is where we're both, at least, are you there? Because that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I think so.
Sevion and Stepp are interesting. And then Marvin Scott's also, they're all very competitive. So we'll see.
Yeah. It's crazy that they would think that one have separated that much. But it makes sense. Like, we've seen like Marvin and Sevion and Ramir, they've all competed against each other before. Only Stepp and Gabe Ervin haven't, and we never felt like there was we never felt like there was tons of separation, between granted Sevion was hurt, but Marvin Scott and Ramir Johnson, we never saw like a separation on who we wanted to give more carries. So you'd have to think that it would either be Stepp or Gabe Ervin.
But when you watch Marquise Stepp's film, I don't see like a
he's
workhorse.
A transfer. Yeah, he seems more of like a
I don't see like a transcendent talent type situation for him. Like a guy who could literally be a workhorse. So then you're like, Gabe Ervin
would have to be the guy.
Oh, I hope we aren't getting completely bamboozled here, and it's gonna just be Marvin Scott or something. But that very well could happen. But we're both pretty excited about Gabe Ervin heading into this year. So that's kind of where we're at with that offense as a whole. And looking forward, I'm sure we'll talk more about Gabe Ervin as well. So I mean, that's where we're at with the kind of like the too deep right now, and looking forward to it. So with that said, now let's talk some of the things we want to see in this game. I mean, what's your worry? The biggest things you're looking for? Either side of the ball, we can kind of just shoot from the hip here on some of these topics. Where are you at? What are your thoughts?
The offense question for me, it's just a huge question. It hasn't been good in these past couple seasons. And now we lost 2 really key offensive linemen that have been here. I mean, like since Scott was, so with losing Jaimes and losing Farniok, both NFL talent O-linemen. Again, Farniok sometimes was more the body size than the skill.
Yeah, I mean, he's on the Cowboys right now, so hey.
But hey, he's on the Cowboys. So even still, though, that's 2 big pieces, especially Jaimes, who would take the tough assignment most times. And we saw him do a lot of good things against NFL talent. Yeah. And really did protect Martinez and Luke a lot of the times. So I think I'm nervous about how good our offensive line is going to be this year. The hype is
there, though. I mean,
we hear the chatter.
We do.
But can I buy into it at this point when our offensive line has been so mediocre over these past seasons? And can somebody really step up that much to make the difference? I'm concerned, and I really am going to have to see it to believe it. So, and obviously, an offensive line is really what makes the offense go anyway.
Right. What's your biggest question there? The tackles? Is it like Cochran and Benhart? Kind of is like
and
big question marks.
Juergens. I mean,
I think I'm honestly pretty confident about Juergens and the steps that he take. We saw in that last season, like where he was really bad at the beginning, but we saw him get a lot better by the end. And then I think this year with the whole
he's got a lot of room to grow still.
Oh, I mean, for sure. But you see him now. The dude is massive. I mean, at least he's got the size now. He's really transformed his body. And so at least I think he's got everything there now to be a great center. So then the question comes down to the technique and overall unity of the core 5 with the tackles. And so, I mean, again, the hype's been there. And so does that now the question is like, is that a testament of the talent of our O-line? Could that be a testament of the
our inside linebackers not being that great?
Or just overall pass rush, or run a bit, like our front seven as a whole, like a testament to our front seven not being as good as advertised.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be one or the other.
Our front seven wasn't fantastic last year by any stretch of the imagination to begin with.
Just watch the Illinois game.
Yeah, that's all. That's as far as you have to look, man.
To be fair, Colin Miller was out there.
So Paul Miller was not
didn't
that
have
great
his
at
best
football.
game in that one. Yeah,
No.
that was a tough one. So I agree with you. That is the biggest thing for me out of any position group, is watching how this offensive line plays, and we better bully around Illinois, because if we don't bully around Illinois,
the worst defense.
I'm not sure who we're bullying
in the
around this year. So we gotta be in a good spot in this game. We need to establish a running game. I'm hoping to see Gabe Ervin tear it up. I want to see 150 yards from Gabe Ervin. That would be so exciting.
I would really love to punish some of these Big Ten teams for what they've done to us on the ground these last
having a workhorse back again this year would be a ton of, that would feel good. But it'll probably just end up being Adrian Martinez. So
yeah, Adrian Martinez is the workout.
He's the workhorse. Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, that's kind of the biggest thing we're looking at defensively. I'm definitely excited to see the corners play out. But again, the receiving core for Illinois, it's hard to imagine they're going to throw the ball downfield a lot. They might try to get between the numbers a little bit and throw these slants and get a little bit interesting inside 15 yards. But I don't see a lot of deep field shots with this receiving core.
Unless that Miami wide receiver.
Yeah, unless somebody stands out, which is possible.
Yeah, who knows? Again, Brandon Peters threw it pretty accurately against us last year.
Yep.
And really did torch us, including Cam Taylor-Britt and DiCaprio Bootle at times.
Most of that came across the middle of the field, though. Besides the Amado Bebe fades to the end zone and whatnot. So without Amado Bebe this year, I think that we'll see how they try to use that middle of the field and if they still take those shots downfield or not. So. That'll be interesting. Defensively, I guess you're just looking for pressure. Can we battle up front will be interesting, and testing our defense. So I'm looking to see some individual talent performances from that front three overall, and then obviously Nebraska, you're paying attention to Omar Manning and Samori Toure and how they look.
How's our offense? Yeah,
and that's exciting.
How's our passing game? Is it really an upgrade? We've been hearing. Can it be like freshman year Adrian with Stanley Morgan? Can we have a 1,000-yard receiver? Can we have a couple?
Exactly. That kind of, I guess, segues us into our first keys of the game. Because my first key to the game was establishing a passing game downfield. This is almost a key to the season, but really I want to see it in this game and getting Adrian comfortable throwing this ball more than 15 yards downfield at least a few times this game.
Even 15 yards.
Taking the shots, just giving it a go. We didn't even try in the second half of last year. It was just not even in the playbook. If it wasn't a Wandale fade down the sideline once or twice, but like the one against Rutgers. But so that's the biggest thing downfield. Is the key to the game is, can Adrian get that ball downfield? It's gonna be warm. It's gonna be hot. So you're gonna be able to air this ball out and have some fun with it. So we'll see. That's my first key to the game and those matchups, because again, there's question marks with the secondary for Illinois, and can we expose that 100%. Secondary? That's the first key to the game for me.
No, I agree. Establishing that, I think establishing again that offensive line. How good are we?
Yep.
How much of a unit, like you said, are we? Are we making our assignments?
How do we stack against Illinois?
Exactly. How do we stack against Illinois? Who's, again, this is going to be a bottom of the pack kind of defensive line. Maybe they take a step up and, they're not, the literal worst team in the Big Ten.
Yep.
But yeah, we need to be absolutely bullying them. And if our offensive line is half as we've heard from camp as advertised, we should be bulldozing.
We should be running this ball. That's what I'm saying. I think the key to the game, based off of, or really basically every key to the game is really a key to our season at this point. Is from all the talk, if our line's the real deal, we should have 250 yards rushing in this game. That it should be simple. That should be a lock. Adrian with 100, and then our running backs with 150 combined. That feels like that's a guarantee. If our O line's as advertised, so we'll see. That's a big X factor for me for sure. And then on the other side of the ball, I mean, Illinois' running game's the X factor. I mean, they got to the outside. They were winning the battle. They were sealing the edge against us last year. And
we were missing assignments. Oh.
Right. And it was tough to watch. So
our defense, it was the worst game of defense we played the whole season. Maybe Minnesota was worse. I don't even think so. The Illinois game was probably the worst defensive game of the season.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention Minnesota's a better offense too. Like, the Illinois that was just awful. So
embarrassing.
Right. I mean, Chase Brown last year again just absolutely torched us, and Mike Epstein had over 100 yards. So those tackles in the open field, getting some penetration on the outside, really,
and they pushed
collapsing.
our defensive line and our linebackers around. I mean, they got the one-up-one matchups that they absolutely wanted. They ran their offense to a T, and they just bullied us down.
Is there a player for Nebraska you're looking at? It's kind of the X factor for kind of like really that run game.
Again, the inside linebackers, I really want to see.
Or Damian Daniels, inside linebackers, and then D tackle.
Ty Robinson and Daniels. I think DeAndre Thomas or Ben Stilley, any of those guys. Just any of those defensive line. Again, we'd seen improvement and more depth, but nobody was really like a top end guy that like we could really rely on. It was like they're all okay.
They're all right.
They're okay. Yeah. It was passable to be on the field, but like there was nobody that would really rose up to the occasion. So, again, those inside linebackers being able to stop the run, because again, like you said, Colin Miller was there last year, man. He was missing tackles left and right, and all of them
so
were
unathletic.
Reimers was too. So I think those guys, they can play a heck of a lot better this year.
Yeah, I mean, again, that was earlier in our season. I mean, like middle of the year,
fourth game in.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's a weird year, so you can make some excuses, I guess, but like at the same time, no excuses. You've got to capitalize, and this year that's the case. So
it's Illinois. No excuse.
I agree. Caleb Tanner's interesting because I mean he's one guy who we see him be a good run stopper. Can he have that extra little bit of speed to become a good open field tackler and chase running backs down on the edge?
I'm looking for some Divine Ozigbo speed boosts from junior to senior year in our defense. Can our linebackers, just like Divine did, get some extra speed, that extra breakaway speed to start getting these tackles and just, again, making nothing easy for them.
Our run defense right there. So I think that's the front seven. And then I think Illinois' X factor would be, for Illinois is Brandon Peters, man. Can he tear us up? I mean, our secondary is advertised like we're going to be very good. I mean, overall, our defense is advertised as a top 40 defense. So very solid, very competitive, and with upside of being top 25 with all the returning 9 of 11 seniors and our 9 of 11 starters with so many seniors and all of these arguments. And how
hungry were they this offseason to get better?
Right.
And
so that's all Peters, gonna see here. And then can Brandon Peters convert with a new receiving core with a lot of new weapons? And if the running game's not working, then Brandon Peters is gonna have to air it out. And so that's gonna be an X factor. Obviously, I'm gonna be really paying attention to that Quentin Newsome and like that second corner, whoever's on the field, and how they perform, and whether or not Brandon Peters is really targeting them, because we'll see how that plays out. But that's gonna be interesting as well. And then overall, that's what I'm excited for. I think one other thing I'm excited for Nebraska just specifically is seeing how the safeties play. And we saw like Deontay Williams played so close to the line of scrimmage in the second half of last year, and he was literally a run stopper, like just making tackles in the backfield half the time. Maybe we're going to be playing some single high safety, daring Brandon Peters to try out some of his new weapons. And then, I think the X factor for Illinois as well would be Isaiah Williams and getting to the edge and using that speed. I think he could be the guy that could rip off like that 60-yard, 70-yard touchdown and be the big time problem for us. And then we haven't even mentioned turnovers and penalties yet, but those are just obvious. Those are obvious. Those are things.
It's plagued us like even since the Pelini days. Like, I mean, since the turn of the century, like penalties have plagued Nebraska.
Yep. So
and turnovers.
And we saw that last year
unequivocally to other programs. It has plagued us. So
So I mean, those are things where you can't throw the ball over 5 times and expect to beat Illinois. So that's part one. And then converting and third downs is a big time problem for us last year. So converting on third downs, getting into more manageable third downs was all problems for us.
Manageable third downs.
The first downs were. How about we don't have a turnover on the first play of the game? Those types of things would be nice. So there's a whole bunch of X factors there and things that we need to watch for. I think we could go on all day, and I'm sure our breakdown video next week will be like 3 hours long, just talking about all of these things.
Again,
there's
the
also
first phase, there's so much to talk about.
There's also an off chance that they're at this game. So if we actually end up, wheeling and dealing to make it there, that'd be lit. But we'll see. So, all right, now's the big reveal. The big reveal is, after all these things, the doubts and the things we're looking for, do we believe that Nebraska will beat Illinois? And Caleb, fire away. Where you at?
I mean, there is no reason that we shouldn't. It's Illinois. It's a new coach. It's the first game of the season. I get it is away. So if there was one thing, but again, we're heavy.
Well, let's be honest.
We're heavy favorites for a reason. We out recruit them every year, and man,
there's going to be a lot of red in those stands. Yeah,
and it's a home game. Preach. It's a home game. It's not away. Every time we go to an Illinois or
it'll be a Nebraska fan's first game to go to a game.
Northwestern.
In
2 years.
In a year and a half. So
yeah, so it's gonna be packed. There's gonna be tons of Nebraska fans there. It's gonna be loud, and we're gonna win. We're gonna win 34-31.
Oh baby!
I'm not saying it's gonna be pretty. It's definitely not gonna be pretty.
Confidence, it can't be high.
Nebraska wins 100% of the time. In my mind. But it's not super high. I'm definitely scared. There's definitely reasons.
That's why it's 34-31. You're taking the under on the spread, which is 6.5, 7.
Yeah, I mean,
you're taking the over on points.
Yeah, I am definitely. I think it's 55. I think we're gonna get.
Oh
over
no,
that.
you're on. Oh, you're actually. Oh yeah, you're. I'm sorry. You're 61.
Yeah.
Yeah,
65. Yeah.
Sorry, in my head. Yeah, I got caught. Yeah. All right.
You're good.
Interesting. All right. So what would be the X factor for you? What's the one thing for that score line that you're like, all right, this is why
we're gonna turn it over less, and our run game's gonna be decent enough.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I'm nervous about is I do think there's gonna be some chunk plays that Illinois is gonna have. I think there, especially
Isaiah Williams.
Especially in the beginning of the year too, there's going to be some breakdown somewhere.
Our linebackers.
I'm scared about our linebackers, to be honest.
We saw some good things, but we don't trust them. That's the thing.
Yeah,
we don't. We saw the potential, but we haven't seen the consistency, and so that's what gets me a little bit worried, especially in the passing game. I mean, I trust JoJo Domann in pass coverage, but at this point,
Do I trust any of the other ones?
Like any of those guys, Garrett Nelson. I mean, I just don't trust them yet, and so that's what gets me a little scared. With Will Honus gone now, we at least had some fundamental positioning going his way. Maybe the athleticism was a little bit capped, but yeah. So those are the things I agree with you there. The running game is very, very interesting. I mean, all right. Well, in that same note, I agree that establishing the run is going to be where we're going to succeed here. Again, I don't think either of us necessarily believe that Adrian's going to suddenly just dice up this team, but
the passing game.
Unless Samori Torre and Omar Manning are making play after play, which is possible. It's in the cards. It's possible, but
breaking some ankles.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I have us winning as well. So we are two for here and I have us even closer though. I have a 30-28. So I'm also taking the over on the points, and I'm taking the Illinois side here when it comes to the under. So 30-28, Nebraska slides by in a scary one. There's a world where we come out here and blow them out because our defense plays great, but I'm worried about turnovers on the road in the first game.
There's gonna be tricks. I mean, I think Brett knows that like you're the underdog team now, and you're gonna have to do some things. You're gonna have to have some trick plays in the book, and we're gonna see him. Again, he's been out the Big Ten. He won a Super Bowl with the Patriots. He knows that trick plays win games too. I mean, we've seen
Isaiah Williams is the guy to watch it because former quarterback. He's gonna be on those jet sweeps. You hand him the ball, and then suddenly he's throwing that thing, and then you're like,
"Yep." All of a sudden, it's a flea flicker.
I can literally picture it right now, and then suddenly
he's on the jet sweep, and then
Quentin Newsome bit on the end around or on the sweep, and now suddenly it's a touchdown.
It's single high safety, and then all of a sudden,
and Markel Dismuke is like he's hitting towards the line of scrimmage.
He's ready to blow him up, and then there it is, one-on-one action with that new wide receiver from Miami, and all alone.
Yeah, so those are the things that scare me. We'll have to see how that ends up playing out. And then turnovers are always the potential plague. I mean, Adrian Martinez, those hands, the fumbles, the decision-making can be iffy. I think Frost isn't going to take too many risks this game. Maybe if we have a little bit more of a comfortable lead, or maybe early in the game, he might take a few shots early with Omar Manning or with Torre, and that could be where that could play out. test the waters a little bit, but then maybe he'll dial it back, start running the ball, and we're going to start grinding the ball out. So that's kind of how I see the game playing out. Defensively, I think both teams, Illinois should have at least some success here with Brandon Peters, a reliable quarterback and running the ball. So that's why I think both of us have the game being on the over, over that 55-point mark with a pretty high scoring game, very close on the road for Nebraska. And I think Nebraska fans should be more nervous.
Knuckle fest of like 14-7.
I mean, that's always possible with Nebraska and how our offense plays sometimes. So we'll have to see what ends up going down. But obviously, we are excited for this game.
Let's go.
And drop all your comments down below, your predictions for this game for the season. Check out some of our other videos. We did a full-on breakdown of Adrian Martinez, his pros and cons as a player. We did a full season predictions video. We did Big Ten West predictions video, NIL stuff. All of those videos have been coming out. We've been getting quite a few videos out lately. So shout out all you Backseat Sports loyalists. We appreciate you guys. And always love seeing the support in the comments down below. So
yes. What do you think? We want to know. How are we winning? How much are we winning by? Screws by 90. Am I right? We're winning by 90. It's blowing them out. Woo.
Amen. So there you go. There's the predictions, and we hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, drop a comment down below. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you guys really enjoyed it. But as always, guys, I'm Josh. That's Caleb. This has been Backseat Sports, and guys, we will see you next time. Woo. Go Big Red, baby.